Everyone, remain calm.
Yeah, that's how it always starts. And later there's running and screaming.
Somebody talk to me! What is happening?
Welcome to Jurassic World.
You're listening to the Jurassic Park podcast.
You want to consult here or in my bungalow? Hold on to your butts.
Well, we're back.
Hello and welcome to the 70th episode of the Jurassic Park podcast. I'm your host, Brad Jost, and we're here to discuss all things Jurassic Park. In this episode, we've got some cool news to review, followed by a great chat with Jurassic World actor James Dumont, where we talk all about his work in Jurassic World, his film in theaters Deepwater Horizon, and much more. After that, we'll wrap up the episode with some great audio from The Graham Norton Show featuring Sam Neill. Stay tuned to the outro of the show for an introduction to our poll segment for next week's episode. This is a packed episode, so let's get it started off with a bit of Jurassic news from around the world.
18 minutes and your company catches up on 10 years of research.
Access me, program. Access me, security.
These pictures were taken in hospital in Costa Rica 48 hours ago.
I don't want to jump to any conclusions, but look.
Boy, my head being right all the time.
Today, I guarantee it.
Dippy the Diplodocus is leaving London's Natural History Museum in early 2017, but before the dinosaur leaves the museum, visitors will have the chance to celebrate with a viewing of Jurassic Park on December 13th. It looks like an extraordinary experience being put on by Rooftop Film Club and Time Out. The event has already sold out, so sorry to get your hopes up there, but hopefully some of you listening will be attending the event and will report back. I'll include a link to the event in any case for you to check out. The recent LEGO Jurassic World The Indominus Escape was released last week in daily installments, culminating in the full 24-minute short. But midweek, it kind of shocked everybody to see that it was uploaded early via Netflix. The full short was available on Netflix streaming, and I gotta say, I was thoroughly impressed. If you haven't seen it yet, we have all 5 parts available on our website, but like I said, you can head straight to Netflix and watch the whole thing. Stay tuned to the next episode where we'll have a full review of the LEGO short. It's really going to be a blast to talk about for sure. Google's Art and Culture app is giving you access to 150 living, breathing dinosaurs with a little bit of help from Google Cardboard. If you have a Google Cardboard, which is a very cheap alternative in the VR market, you can throw in your phone and take a look at dinosaurs brought to life. With the help of 50 natural history museums, these dinosaurs walk around the museum with the most realistic anatomy that they could create. Now, I've given the app a shot via my iPhone and Google Cardboard, and it's really, really awesome. You get to stand in the museum, watch these dinosaurs move around or swim around, and they came right up to me, looked super realistic, so definitely give it a shot. And I'll leave a link in our show notes for more information.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Let's open up the doors to the Visitor Center, where I speak with Jurassic World actor James Dumont. Today, here in the Visitor Center, we welcome in actor James Dumont, who you may have seen in some amazing films such as The Butler, Trumbo, currently in theaters with Deepwater Horizon, and of course, as Hal Osterley in Jurassic World. Let's welcome in James here to the podcast. How are you?
I'm good. Glad to be here.
Awesome. Now, I want to hit you with some big questions and everything, so I'm gonna start it off with a real tough one right off the bat.
Okay.
If you were trapped in a kitchen with a velociraptor right out of the first movie in Jurassic Park, what would you do, and would you make it out alive?
Ooh, that's a good one. What would I do, and would I make it out of alive? I'd try to find something flammable.
Okay.
if it was, we're in the kitchen, so, there's a stove, there's something. I try to find some way, pots and pans. The good news is I'm in a kitchen right now, so
Okay.
I can let my imagination kind of go. I'd have to figure out some diversion. That's why I was thinking like fire or something, or
Yeah.
I'd find some way to kind of like have some item or some way to kind of divert his attention so I could get towards like the stove. Because I know they're not going to go towards fire. That's why I just know it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that doesn't mean I need to put myself on fire, but I have to find some way to get near the fire because they're not going to come near me if there's fire near me. You know?
It's a big distraction. Because you don't want to set yourself on fire.
That's exactly right. Quick distraction and find my way to get as close to fire as possible.
Okay.
How's
All
that?
right. That's good. So you think you're going to get out of there alive? That's good.
I'm a chunky guy, but I always surprise people that I can, like I'm in New York City right now and it's a 5-floor walk up. So I walk 30, 40 flights of stairs a day. So that's bad, so I mean, for a chunky dude, I can dance for hours. So I don't know, I think I'm fairly agile.
Yeah.
So I got a good shot.
Yeah, there's definitely a good chance. If those kids made it out, I think you could too.
That's what I'm thinking. I got longer legs and, hopefully a bigger brain.
Especially with that fire. That's actually, I ask this question a lot to people, and nobody's ever come up with that before. So that's a good one. I like that.
Well, we've seen in many other Jurassic, like, the flames and, that does keep them away.
Yeah.
Like it may be a temporary distraction, but they don't like fire.
I think, I
feel like that's my best shot. But really, pans aren't going to do it. I mean, they can crush through pan. I mean, there's just not much in a kitchen that's going to save me,
Yeah.
That's the best shot I got.
I think that's a good call. So let's get into it then. As I look through your IMDb page, you must be one of the busiest guys in the scene, and you actually have me feeling pretty inadequate about all the things I do in a year.
Yeah, don't feel inadequate. This is a 30-year thing. I'm a 30-year overnight sensation.
Yeah. Well, no, I got to give you a lot of credit. You're in so much stuff and a lot of really great stuff, and it's really awesome.
There's a few that you haven't seen then. Okay, I appreciate it. It's good. There's a few on the list, and when the people see me, they're like, "Oh, hey, man, I saw you," and I'm like, "Uh-huh. Is it good? Oh, yeah, good. That was good." No, I appreciate that. I just, I'm just a working guy. I just, I've found that I love doing what I do, and I want to do it all the time, and I want to find ways in which to do it all the time. So, I don't kind of really rest on any laurels. I don't, I'm clearly people don't recognize me, so I have that kind of going for me. Which at some points I'm like, well, can you recognize me a little bit? But on the other side to it is I realize that that's probably the best thing that's happened for me is that I'm not, oh, there's that guy that does that, or there's this person, or that, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I've kind of done, it was a little bit by design, and it was a little bit by circumstances, and then a lot of it by just kind of creating good fortune. Like I was with a producer up in Toronto when we did the premiere of Deepwater Horizon, and I said, look, there's times where people send me some things, and and I read them and I say no because I'm like, that doesn't really make sense, or that it's misspelled a lot, or I don't really understand what's going on, or that character's not very interesting to me, or I've done that before. So I'm not in any luxury where there's a stack of scripts coming my way. I can tell you that for sure, but I am kind of picky about like what I want to do next,
Yeah.
And so there's things that come across, my agents and my manager's desk, and they're like, well, read it first or tell me what you think. And I go, yeah, that doesn't really make sense. I mean, that's a step backwards, or that character is not interesting to me. So, but I mean, now looking at it, and now with Deepwater Horizon, if you haven't seen the film, it's extremely powerful. Mm-hmm. And I know that, Tim Burton is having a big, took us over at the box office, but I movie for movie, I put Deepwater Horizon against that movie any day of the week. And I've heard good things about it, but I just go, what Peter Berg did, this is just so Peter Berg's, this is a second film he's worked with Mark Wahlberg on, and there's a third. So there's really a trilogy here that's happening with a filmmaker and an actor together. Whereas the next film is Patriots Day, about the Boston bombing.
Oh,
and
okay.
Peter Berg has always said that this is a trilogy of the kind of realistic, human, raw filmmaking stories that he wants to make. And that's so there's one more movie to this trilogy with Mark Wahlberg and Kurt Russell, and with Mark Wahlberg and Peter Berg.
Yeah.
And that one has Kevin Bacon and John Goodman and J.K. Simmons. I mean, we have an amazing cast in that.
Wow,
and I'm in that movie as well. So, I'm very fortunate that Peter, likes my work and, wanted me to come on to the next project. And it looks to me I'll probably be on some more with Peter. And maybe even Mark as well. But
wow, yeah.
There's something about, there's a great fortune in kind of putting in years and years of work. And then when opportunities show themselves, you just kind of want to rise to the occasion.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's really good. And the first one of that trilogy, you say, that was Lone Wolf, was it? Right?
Lone Survivor.
Oh, Lone Survival. Yeah,
Lone Survivor.
Survivor.
Then Deepwater Horizon. The next one is Patriots Day, and you'll see there's definitely a thread and an ongoing theme of telling human stories, based on true human stories and based on human beings making decisions that have impact on each other. And I think that's important filmmaking, even on a high level. It's almost like he's doing really solid, independent human condition stories, but on much larger levels and budgets. But I can't say enough that I mean, every single person that I've recommended to go see Deepwater Horizon, not just because I'm in it, people have come back and go, wow, I mean, that's a movie, and moving and powerful and strong, and it has action, and it just fulfills a lot of the reasons why people would go to the theater or even go to the IMAX. Same thing with Jurassic, the Jurassic Park, all the movies, Jurassic World, all of those. It's like, movies were meant to take us on this journey, and the IMAX and 3D. It's like, it's not staying at home, and you know what I mean? It's not on your phone, not on a computer. It's like going to the movies, as it was in the beginning of these movie making, was an experience. And so I think, I'm, not a big fan of the comic book movies, even though Marvel's called many times, and I'm hoping at some point I'll do something with them. But it's like, the good thing about Marvel is they tell good stories. The stories have to be compelling. And same thing with the kind of detail and the honor that the Jurassic Park, franchise does in terms of details. I mean, it's just, that's the way it's done too. You know what I mean? Yeah. Honoring the fans, honoring the small things, honoring storyline, keeping things going, and the special effects, and you know what I mean, and humor. That's the other thing. There's these love, and you got the heart of Spielberg is throughout all of it too. It's like there. So there's and Colin is another, just perfect person, to be part of this franchise. So I'm excited to see or hear. But trying to get information about Jurassic World 2, it's like trying to get Donald Trump's taxes. It's near impossible. It's near impossible.
Yeah, I know. It's all under lock and key. It's impossible to get a scoop or anything. Yeah,
I think it should be that.
Exactly.
Why have somebody steal or rob any idea when I'm just a film fan, as much being in it as going to the movies. Many times my favorite experiences is going to see a film and I know nothing. I've read no reviews. I've had no spoiler alerts. No, I just go and I go, take me on a journey.
Yes.
And that's getting lost a little bit in our immediacy of being able to get information and things so quickly that there's an impatience to it. So I think for me, it's like, man, sitting in the theater and getting popcorn and sitting by, like, come on, man, I'm open. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, the spoiler.
I'm able to go on where you want to take me.
Yeah. Spoilers are so tough nowadays, and like you said, you can just stumble across them so easily, and you don't really want it to ruin that experience for you.
Yeah, and it doesn't really ruin it, but the point is, why? Is there really something to? I mean, what does somebody really gain from it? It's almost like, for me, the same thing about illegal downloads of movies. What people don't understand is, like, my children's insurance and dental plans are based on my earnings.
Yeah.
And so when you're illegally downloading a movie, yeah, it may not hurt the studio in any particular way, but it hurts their profit margin, of which that they share with me because of my union. So it's almost like, doing those things. What it doesn't cause, it actually causes more harm. So yeah, you can see the movie immediately, and it's like you against the big machine, but it hurts people. It hurts people like me. I can tell you that for sure.
Yeah, I think they should revert to the movie theater being more of an experience, and it may cause like the prices to jack up a little bit, but it really needs to be that experience where you take your whole family and you get the food and the popcorn and you see this amazing screen, because it has to be. You can't just watch things on your phone, It's
And I'm a big fan of DVD. When you leave the movie, have it ready. Take it home right there. You want to get rid of piracy? It's like.
Very good idea.
And then how great and excited. You'll never be more enthused and excited about a movie than after you just came out of it. If it's really good and you did your work, you'd buy that in a heartbeat. So why not have it available in the lobby? That, to me, I go, that doesn't make any sense. Soderbergh I've worked with Soderbergh a few times, and he's a big proponent of make it available right away. Let it come out at the same time, and let them have that, let them, choices. I mean, the movie theater people hate it because they're like, oh my gosh, it's like, but the point is, if you're making a movie that needs to be in a movie, Deepwater, Jurassic, the Marvel movies, they need to be seen on an IMAX big screen. No two ways about it.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit actually about Deepwater? Because you actually play a real life character or person, right?
I do. There's a guy named Patrick O'Brien who was the vice president of BP. And here's the beautiful irony is he was actually they flew there, got on a helicopter, got on the Deepwater Horizon specifically to hand them the safety award for 7 years of safety. Yeah. So on the morning of April 20th, 2010, 4/20/10, they were there to hand them a safety award for 7 straight years of no accidents, no problems.
Wow.
And get the photo op with them and the safety award to show a great face of what BP was. And they did that. And then unbeknownst to all of us, and what the movie really brings out is how many problems there were with the Deepwater, with the well itself. How many problems with Deepwater Horizon itself was. A lot of mechanical, electrical problems. Alarms weren't going off. Sound familiar? And there were cost-cutting measures that BP was doing because there was a greater prospect ahead. Casquita was the next prospect that they had, that they were going to move on the Deepwater to and go on to the next thing. And that was more valuable than BP alone, and then the whole company. So they were like, look, this is a well from hell. Let's just cut some corners. Let's not do all these tests. Let's just move on to the next. Let's just move on to the next one. Let's get through this. And that cost 11 men their lives, and 126 men, were fighting for their lives that evening. And so, what's beautiful is there's a beautiful tie-in between Jurassic World and Deepwater. There's business and there's people. There's human lives, and there are, greed is not good. I know that one might have been the motto of a certain particular decade, but greed is not good. We're seeing the results of that. And so there's definitely a tie-in between Jurassic World, like their need to try to replicate and outdo and better and bigger, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then there's the people that have to kind of deal with that kind of fallout. And there's the same tie-in with Deepwater. Here's, I get on a plane and there's gas that we need for that plane. I get in a car and there's men that risk their lives 21 days a month to try to tap in a mile down into this planet of ours in order to extract oil. And they risk their lives doing so that we can kind of go on with our lives. Yeah. So there is definitely, for me, if people are Jurassic Park fans, I mean, go see Deepwater Horizon, because I just go, there's definitely a tie-in between business and people and greed and doing, trying to get by, and you know what I mean? Being slick and not being honoring and even respecting. The other thing is, we're pulling things out of the earth. Replicating dinosaurs is, you know what I mean? We're trying to play God. So there's a lot of tie-ins between these two movies, in terms of storytelling, in terms of action. It's like fantastic. I mean, the CGI is the same people who did Jurassic World. So I mean, it's Industrial Light and Magic. Like really, they created things that I just couldn't believe, because I know we weren't really on a rig. You know what I mean? We were shooting in New Orleans, Louisiana, when there's a McDonald's across the street from where the rig was. You know what I mean? Like that's how close we were. So.
Yeah.
So I think there's definitely similarities between these two particular movies, and so when you reached out, I was like, oh yeah, man, let me really ponder that a little bit, because that there is something there,
Yeah, that's really interesting that the two kind of tie in like really well like that, with the digging out the oil and everything, and then it's
people's interest
parallels.
And corporate interest and people's interest.
Yeah.
Who wins, and then when one overshadows the other, people get eaten.
Yeah.
People die.
Yeah, it's
and so that's the thing we have to, I think it's these are cautionary tales, when we're playing with God. I mean, when we're playing and replicating DNA, and you know what I mean, like we're getting into interesting territories.
Yeah.
And we're how many more resources can we pull out of our planet, and then using those resources for entertainment purposes, or to as some of the storyline is in Jurassic World of like, these they can be used as soldiers, we can replace them with people. And so I'm like, oh, okay. We're replacing people.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Well,
these machines replace people. Okay.
Exactly.
All right.
Yeah. Any critics of that capitalist, plot line in Jurassic World can just look straight at Deepwater Horizon and see it's real. It's a real, scenario.
Yeah, and real story, real people, and it happens. Look, even when I was doing Dallas Buyers Club, it was not lost on me that this was not. And some people were like, well, this is a story about, do I want to go see a drama about AIDS, someone dying with AIDS? No, well, wait a minute. Here's a man who has AIDS, who's just trying to get the medicine he needs, and he's fighting big business. He's fighting corporate business just to get the drugs that he needs in order to live.
Yeah.
So it's still all these are David versus Goliath stories, of which they're told in very interesting and provocative ways.
Yeah. So how do you prepare differently, like when you're playing a real life person versus a fictional character?
Yeah, that's different because like with Trumbo, J. Parnell Thomas has passed. With the butler, Sherman Adams has passed. So they weren't around. Now I didn't reach out to Patrick O'Brien. I look a little bit like him, but it's not a total physical, of him. I did research on him. I knew he went to LSU. I knew he was in the oil industry. I know he was a VP. So I do a little research and try to find out a little bit, because I live in New Orleans and New York, but I live in New Orleans primarily. And so there were people within my Facebook sphere of people who actually knew him,
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
Let's wait till the movie comes out, and then, do you want to meet him? And I was like, yeah, that'd be kind of cool. I mean, I'm sure he's like, oh my God, I don't look anything like that. It's like, so, there's that. There's those living things. Same thing in Patriots Day. The character that I play is based on a real person, and there was an opportunity for me to reach out to him and meet him, but I ended up having to go back to New Orleans for another project. So, there is that preparation. It's just I still do the same kind of research as if they're dead or alive. But there is that fact that this person, their family's here. There's somewhere I'm going to end up coming across this person at some point. So I try to do as best I can in terms of finding things. Research for me, I always try to find somebody's weakness. I find that Superman knows that kryptonite is the thing that does him in. I always try to find what is somebody's Achilles heel, and I always think that's an interesting thing because I know that Sherman Adams, and I know that even and J. Parnell Thomas, their arrogance and their other people's malfeasance, they ended up leading to their own demise. Like they left their positions in shame. In Trumbo, there's this beautiful payoff if people haven't seen it of my character. It's got this great kind of payoff in the end.
Yeah,
and so it's like karma's a bitch. And so there's something about finding, and so for Deepwater Horizon in specifics, there's two main characters that were indicted for manslaughter, but were not prosecuted and didn't serve any time. And you see in the movie specifically decisions they made. And there was other decisions that people made. Is that, that's what I kind of like about this story, is that you don't have to know anything about the industry, the oil thing or the rigs or even these, these floating devices. But it's really all about, human beings making crucial decisions with very few seconds to be had. Yeah. The reality is by the time that the Deepwater Horizon had caught on fire and the time that it exploded, it was like 30 minutes. And so the Coast Guard, there was no way the Coast Guard was even going to get there in time to do anything. And so you got to understand, people are making life decisions or decisions about other people's lives in a very short period of time.
Yeah, so when you know the outcome of a situation like that, like the BP oil spill, you know what happened. Do you let that affect your role in any way? Do you see that as a problem or no?
Well, for me, it's like even when I was, when I did Dallas Buyers Club, it's a scene between a strange father and son who basically abandoned his son the minute he kind of came out, or the minute he says he was transgender. Now, I personally don't subscribe to that. I believe people are born who they are, and everybody has a right to love and be with anybody that they want. Now, my character, on the other hand, does not. Has fundamental religious beliefs, believes that it's a choice. It's a that he's made. So, for me, it's like knowing my job is to hold his tour, as Shakespeare would say, a mirror to nature. My job is to kind of really look into the minds and hearts and really get into the, be in the skin of that particular person and how they would make certain decisions. So knowing what the outcomes are, I get even more fascinating. Well, how did we get to that point?
Yeah.
How did so much time go by? Why didn't they, there were 3 opportunities for them to detach from the well so that we wouldn't have, 200 million gallons of oil spill and destroy, and to this day, wildlife, seafood, people's livelihoods. 11 people's lives. So the idea is, if we know the outcome, then, for me, it's always like when I'm looking at material, even if it's auditions, I sometimes what is what's the beginning, middle, and end? I know how it ends. So, okay, let me work my way backwards. How did I get to this point?
Yeah.
How does it go? Like in my movie, I have this really nice kind of arc where I start out, you'll see I start out fairly, I'm a BP. I'm an entitled, arrogant person. I am a vice president of a multi-billion-dollar corporation. So when some person asks me to do something very small and trivial, I don't take it very seriously. And who are you to ask this of me? And then in the end, it's, we know that it explodes. I'm fighting for my life. And all of a sudden I'm in the hands of the very people that try to tell me what to do. So all of a sudden for all my power and all my experience and arrogance and all those things, I'm in a life-death situation of which my life is in other people's hands. So, for me, that's, there's the story, and then there's, what's the character arc? Where do you start? Where does it turn and change? And then where do you end? And I do that when I even teach and coach people in New Orleans. And I say every story's got a 3-act structure, beginning, middle, and end. So let's explore all the things that are between each of those things.
Yeah. Is it easy to leave that character in front of the camera when you step off?
Yeah, I think the only time I had for me it is, but I think sometimes, with this one, we had to walk very tenderly and gingerly through this process because there are families who've lost loved ones. And it turned out that one of the days that I was working, I had my BP shirt on, and it was the first tour that I was on set for where the families were coming to visit the set. And they asked me very nicely if I would stay in my trailer while the tour went on. That, even though they may know you as an actor, seeing BP or having you on set probably might or might not trigger something. But, can you just stay in your trailer just for a little while till the tour is over? And, man, that kind of attention to detail and respectfulness. I mean, that's Peter Berg and Mark Wahlberg. They are exceptional human beings and great artists and filmmakers. And, now, we're taking on Patriot Day. It's like Boston is, Mark Wahlberg is not going to let Boston down on that movie. I can tell you that.
Oh, I'm sure.
And
yeah.
So there's things that you're just, I kind of got lost on your question, but maybe it answers it.
No, definitely. I think you have to be sensitive and leave that, like you said, you got to kind of stay out of it sometimes when you think it might be overstepping. And the new film that you're in, Patriots Day, that's going to be a real tough one for, families and people of the time there.
Yeah, I ended up spending time with some of the survivors from the Boston bombing, in Boston when we were shooting. And I think the thing that, I was really there to kind of say, look, I just finished coming off this amazing experience with Peter Berg. And the one thing I can tell you and the takeaway that I want to share with you is that he's going to do it right. Mm-hmm. This is not going to be sensationalism or exploitation of this story. He's going to tell a human story.
Yeah.
And, that's not being done on a very large scale at studios and around. So I have honor and respect for, companies like Lionsgate who make their Hunger Game movies, and then they turn around and allow filmmakers to make bigger, more powerful stories. So Lionsgate also produced, Patriots Day along with CBS Films. So taking risks on telling human stories when, let's look at the world we need, it's just us. Mm-hmm. we that same to tie back to Jurassic World, it's us. This is what's left. They were here before us, and they may be here after us. Mm-hmm. Human beings may not be residing on this planet at some point.
Yeah.
What's going to be here, and how do we deal with that?
Yeah, I think blockbusters are great, Jurassic World and sequels like that, but it's really great to have, small, intimate, touching films like that. And
look, we need to be entertained. There's a lot of pain. There's a lot of suffering. I'm in the entertainment business. That's the truth. Mm-hmm. But I find entertaining ways to tell human stories because I'm interested in telling the story of this person or that person. So, as much as we're, we also need a little break from it all. You need to sit back with a popcorn and go, take me. So, kudos for that. At the end of the day, we're still in being able to tell interesting stories, but at the same time, we also want to laugh and we want to entertain and we want to be taken on a story, taken on a journey.
Yeah, so that's, I guess, where Jurassic World comes in, when you really want to hype it up and go crazy. Right. A majority of our audience obviously is wondering about your time in Jurassic World. For those who don't know, you played Hal Osterly in that scene where we get our first glimpse at Claire Dearing and the name dropping of the Indominus Rex. Now, again, your character was the vice president of Verizon, so it's paralleling still.
So it's called the Verizonsaurus for the record.
So,
but Sprint, so Verizon, you can call at any point in time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, it's all good.
That scene definitely introduced the entire capitalism plot line. And, like we were talking about with Deepwater Horizon, I think you dropped into a really great scene here with a ton of setup for this film. So I guess what can you tell us about, that role and what kind of work went into it?
Well, the wonderful thing is that, I audition for, sometimes as much as 200 times in a year. So
wow.
Just think of 200 job interviews that a human being has to put themselves through. that is my job.
Yeah,
I'm
of
course. Auditioner until I work. So I made between voiceovers and commercials. Some years I may even do 300 in a good year. Oof. 5 jobs, 10 jobs. So it's not for everyone. But then every once in a while, a project kind of comes along and it's very secretive, and they had a different name for it when it was saying so. So what they do is they put these kind of general scenes. We call them dummy scenes. They're scenes that are not specifically like, same thing with Walking Dead. It's like you'll get a dummy scene for that, or even when I was on Mad Men, it was a dummy scene. And so the idea is that these are scenes that have the essence of what the relationship between the people are and the characters, but they're not anywhere near, and they're not in the real storyline of the movie. And that was the case with Jurassic World. It was actually a scene about a bunch of corporate folks at some sort of convention, and they're at a bar, and they're talking about, it's a little power structure. And there's these 3 corporate people, and they're talking and I'm trying to hit on this one executive that knows more. So I'm a little lascivious, and I'm a little pompous. Like I think I have something to offer because here we are. We're in a hotel, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're at a convention. You got a room upstairs. I got a room upstairs. What do you say? So there's a little bit of this. I want to be. We need to do this. So it's very funny how kind of like that was the dummy scene. It was like it was in a hotel bar, and it was like me trying to pick up Claire.
Okay.
And so and even when we got on set, and Colin was extremely nice. He was lucky for me. He was a big fan of Jurassic. A big fan of Dallas Buyers Club, and he said that scene between you and Jared it's heartbreaking, and he goes, the minute I saw your audition, I was like, oh, that's the father from Dallas Buyers Club. He's like, oh no, I want him. He's fantastic.
Yeah,
like that, yeah. So I had that going for me. But the other thing is that so everybody gets the same kind of scene, so it really comes down to the kind of choices that you make. So I put that on tape, and they responded to it. They were, like fairly quickly, they were like, well, what's your availability from this time to this time? And I'm like, yeah, I'm available.
Of course.
I had heard that the code was Jurassic World.
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping that it was. There was another couple projects around that same time. There was another, I don't know what it was. I think Terminator had like a fake name around, because we shot on the same time when we got on set. As the same time as Terminator Genesis.
Okay.
So there were like 3 or 4 kind of like bigger secretive projects going on. I think another Marvel project was happening. So, I mean, like, you weren't sure which one it was.
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping it would be Jurassic World, and turned out to be. So I did the audition, and it worked out great. And then I got on set in New Orleans, and we shot out at Stennis, which is like kind of an Air Force base in New Orleans. And they had built this whole lab, and the attention to detail was just as always. I'm a big fan of Jurassic Park, so it's like, they never skimp on the details. The computers and the DNA. So I kind of walked in there, and I was like, wow, this is just incredible. So, and then I got to meet, I got to meet Colin. I never had met him before, so that was a first.
Mm-hmm.
And so then we just kind of like and I didn't meet the other actors that I work with. They were all part of the scene, and so the essence is that I want to be impressed. You know what I mean? Like, we spend money, and for our money, we're expecting something. I want you to like, that's all you got. You got to have something bigger. I want something bigger, stronger, meaner. I want some blood.
Yeah.
If it doesn't bleed, it doesn't lead. I'm like so there is. And there is that. So what's interesting is the dummy scene was not really even close to kind of what we did.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, it turned out to be fairly close if you think about it.
It informed your character then.
Yeah, it formed my character. It was just someone who's arrogant and wants to be impress me. Impress me. So that didn't really kind of change in any way. I think the cool thing is Bryce had seen, I had also was in James Brown movie Get On Up. Mm-hmm. And when I came up to her, she's like, I know you. And I was like, oh yeah, hi. And I'm like going, I don't know how. And she's like, just saw you in a movie. I just saw you in a movie. And I was like, I mean, what? And I'm going this and that. And they're like, no, we have kids. So we haven't seen Dallas Buyers Club, and she's going through that. And then she was like, Get On Up. She's like, oh, yeah. Because her dad was the producer of Get On Up. And
okay.
She had seen like a separate screening of it before it come out. So she had literally like seen me in Get On Up like the week before. She's like, you were hilarious. That's such a funny scene with you and James Brown. I'm like, yeah. So then I was like, okay, we're good. And she goes, but I promise I'm going to see Dallas Buyers Club after we're done. I was like, it's just with the kids. And I was like, no, I get it.
Of course, yeah.
So yeah, it was really kind of a welcoming. B.D. Wong and I had worked together in theater in Los Angeles, actually, and a little bit in New York. David Henry Wang, who put him on the map with M. Butterfly, and I are old friends, and so I had read some plays and stuff together with him. So we had met that before. That's about, and when you got on there, it's just like everything's kind of secretive, and you can't take pictures, and it's everybody's phones were confiscated. So, but I was like, I knew I was, like this is the Jurassic Park franchise, man. I mean, this is, ironically is after I shot, I was doing a movie in New Orleans, but I was going back and forth to LA, and I ran into Laura Dern.
Oh,
and I'd worked on a movie with Laura Dern. I worked on a movie with Laura Dern, and I also worked with her husband Bruce on a movie as well.
Mm-hmm.
But so we got to be close in the movie I worked on because we talked about her dad and this, that, and the other. And so I ran into her on her plane. I said, you're about the only person I'm going to say this to because I think you'll appreciate it. I said, I'm in Jurassic World. And she goes, fantastic. And she goes, Jurassic, the gift that keeps on giving. And I was like,
I'm sure.
I hope you're right. And she goes, no. I know I'm right. I hope the same thing comes for you, because they re-released it,
of course.
That one did well for her.
Of course, yeah. She's got a lot of experience when it comes to that, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you had mentioned that immersion, like when you were on set there in that lab. It wasn't like when you turned around and you see McDonald's behind you, right? It was like fully immersed.
No. No. We were in a lab. I mean, and the glass and the marble floor. I mean, this was that's the other thing I think that, I'm happy the movie did so well. And I'm so humble and appreciative to the fans, because the reality is when people are trying to create this kind of vision, it's costly, it's not cheap. And I think when there's a fan base there and when there's consistent people coming back to see these movies, when they're respectful, that's the bigger thing, when they're respectful of the franchise and the stories and the characters, and they're not just trying to slap it together and get it up there. They really, Frank Marshall, Kathleen Kennedy, Spielberg, they take the time, and I think it's that attention to detail and time. And then when you get in there, it's like, you are in it. You're in it. Mm-hmm. you are in a lab. These are working. These computers are working. Some of these things are directly from DNA labs. These, they're not, DNA for dinosaurs, but the reality is these are state of the art, up to date things. They're not cheap to rent or to use. And the minute they say, yeah, we're doing Jurassic World, they're like, oh yeah, that'll be $20,000 a day, So I'm thankful and appreciative to the fans and those who are, keeping in the franchise alive, because, no expense was spared. Yeah. And to put it on the screen and not, no slight to anybody's salaries, but, sometimes they're just, too much for a movie, and there's so much money spent on the people in it that they didn't spend the time to develop the story and all the sets and the props and the costumes and the, the lighting and the, the style of the camera work. It's like you skimp on those things. And I just never felt that with this. It's like they did it right all the way through. And Colin was the perfect person to kind of, re-enliven that franchise and get back to what this story is about.
Yeah. Now, even despite all the despite all the amazing people involved in it, did you actually expect it to do that well?
I didn't expect it to do that well. Although I must tell you, I have been waiting with bated breath by my, because as residuals, that's how I live,
Of course.
So I don't do another job, because I can, parenting and teaching. I like to just be an actor. So the residuals are like what I live on. Mm-hmm. And so, I'll be honest, I haven't quite seen the trickle down economics of the 1.8 billion yet.
Okay.
As I have with other movies where, I see my salary, 2 and 3 times, but then it gets less and less over time. I haven't seen the big whale check yet. I haven't seen the Tyrannosaurus Rex of residuals. I'm hoping that I will at some point. I'm just because it's what keeps me afloat. It affords me the ability to kind of keep doing what I'm doing, because as I said, I may do 200 of these auditions a year, and that I still spend time and tape them, or I fly somewhere, or like I'm in New York now, so so those things help to kind of subsidize my pursuit of doing what I want to do and love to do. And so I'm waiting. I'm hoping that the next few checks something will get my attention.
Yeah, well, I think you hit it on the head with Laura Dern. They're going to be releasing this thing forever.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they're going to be
Yeah.
re-releasing DVDs, which we're actually seeing one coming up in a few weeks here. And, you know, it's going to be hitting the theaters again and again every time a new sequel's released. So it's going to do crazy numbers from here on out.
You know, like, and I'm not a greedy person in any particular way, and I don't hope it doesn't come off that way. It's just, it's
No.
You know, I'm you know, I'm like, you know, it's only a certain amount of people are in this movie, and they split it amongst all those folks. And my hope is that the accounting continues in a prosperous way down the line.
Favorable.
But you know, these movies, you know, you spend $100 million, then you maybe spend another $100 million just trying to promote the movie. So, you know, there's, you know, it takes a while to kind of recoup those things. So when you have something like the Jurassic that comes up, you know, you're like, wow, you know, it's a rare thing, you know, like even with us for Deepwater Horizon, you know, this is $100 million budget, and that's mostly because of you know, Industrial Light and Magic.
Of course. Yeah.
It's those technical things, but then you got to get people in the seats. And so even us, you know, struggling to make, you know, 30 million at the first weekend. So when you get something like Jurassic World, where it's like, you know, the biggest opening until the next biggest opening happens, but to be in the top, you know, one of the top 10 movies of all time, box office wise, that's big, you know.
Has to be a good
Sam
feeling.
Jackson being, you know, 8 of the top 10 is even bigger. You know, again, you know, I'm still about the work. You know, these are things that are like kind of out of my hands and out of my control. You know, but I'm very appreciative and honored to be part of a franchise like Jurassic World. And I've been trying as best I can to kind of lean on a few people I know that will be involved in Jurassic Park 2 to go, you know, I didn't get killed in the first one. Even though everybody at my kid's school thinks I'm the fat guy with the sandwich. No, that's not me. I did not get eaten. And that's great. But that's a funny part, because I'm like, the minute you saw that guy, the fat guy eating the sandwich, you know, oh, you're like, oh, he's going down.
Yeah, it was bad news from the start.
Yeah, that big bite that he's taken, he will be bitten
even
that
bigger.
Same way in a matter of minutes. So yeah, but yeah, no, I'm the corporate guy. I mean, come on, you know, you can bring me back. It's all right. I still have my corporate interest at heart. I still want it bigger, better.
Yeah.
Even though the dinosaurs have obviously taken over the thing, there was talk a little bit. What kind of rumors have you heard about what the next story or inclination is?
Well, it seems like it might be a more scary, more grounded even, and darker even. So who knows? Maybe I could foresee the vice president of Verizon, you know, like trying to dig in, trying to get more, being even more
Get my
greedy.
money's worth.
Who knows? Yeah, could happen.
Absolutely. Look, I put this money in. I'm expecting something back.
Yeah.
Or, you know, but, you know, story-wise, I'm thinking something's telling me that we're getting back to closer to like Jaws. That we're going to be exploring the more of the fish-eating dinosaurs in this next one, I think.
Yeah, that would be really great. I mean, the Mosasaurus in Jurassic World was a you know, a major set piece. It was amazing.
It's pretty highlight. It's a pretty powerful thing. Eating other dinosaurs.
Yeah.
You know, so,
took down your investment.
That's exactly right. So yeah, maybe we just flood the whole thing. We just turned it into, you know, a water park, you know?
Yeah, I could see that. I could see it happening. You know, maybe there was an offshoot. Maybe there was a water park somewhere else. Who knows?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
So what was your favorite part of that film, you know, just on screen?
I think my favorite part in the whole movie? I think my favorite part in the whole movie...
I mean, you can say your scene. That's fine.
No. And I didn't. That never even came to mind. You know, to me, I mean, Chris Pratt was just so damn good. He was so good, and I liked the you know, as corny as some of the people were kind of. I liked the relationship between the two of them. You know, I thought D'Onofrio. I'm a huge Vincent D'Onofrio fan. You know, if you haven't seen Max 7, go see it. I mean, his character work is amazing. I liked a lot of those kind of story of, like, you know, him infiltrating and kind of coming in, and him and Pratt going at it. I just loved it. And for me, it's like, that's what it is. It's like, I'm the guy on the ground and you're corporate. You know what I mean? Who's in charge? Who's you know, who's the tougher dude? And so I liked all the chase stuff. I liked the whole concept of the idea of the these trained raptors that go out. I mean, I love that thing with following and then they turn on them. I mean, I just that it to me it got back to like what I loved about Jurassic Park. You know what I mean? It got back to the original story. And so I mean, there's to pinpoint one particular scene, I can't.
It's tough.
It's tough because there's like a dozen I liked.
Mm-hmm.
And I like like Ty Simpkins. The cool thing about Ty is that I was his baseball coach in LA, and he and my son were on the same baseball team together.
Wow.
And I love that kid.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. He's wonderful. His mom is lovely. And he and my son became really close. In fact, I couldn't go to the premiere because I was doing Deep Water. So my son went, and he and Ty were hanging out together.
Oh, that's nice. That's awesome.
You know what I mean? So it's full circle that you're the baseball coach of the kid from Jurassic Park and the kid from Iron Man. So
true, yeah.
I like all his brother. I liked a lot of his scenes.
Yeah.
Liked a lot of his stuff between he and his brother just trying to navigate through this whole thing. Because he's the younger, kind of like the heart of the two, you know what I mean? Like there's the older brother trying to be tough.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just the kind of like, he's like us. He's like the kid who watched Jurassic Park,
Exactly, yeah.
And we see it through his innocence in his eyes. And when things turn, and it's cracked and they're, they're fighting for, like, those are great scenes, man.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like your dream and my son is just, is fanatical about everything he touches. It's like he's in Pokemon Go right now. We're doing it all the time. He's into baseball. It's like we play every day, so it's like, so when you love Jurassic Park, like like Ty's character does, and then all these things happen, oh my God, it's a crushing of a dream, that's us, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of scenes that he did that I really like because that's what I think it's always from the, I think the way this franchise has worked is never forgetting, people seeing Jurassic Park. Welcome to, like that.
Of course. That awe.
Magic.
Yeah.
It's the awe and the magic. And,
mm-hmm.
Those scenes to me are the ones that kind of stand out. And then then there's the fights, then there's the power struggles,
mm-hmm.
Good and evil. And, what's best for this is not best for everybody, Yeah.
As much as these are dinosaur stories and everything, they're at their best when it's character based and these smaller stories. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, Chris Pratt had to be the cocky guy.
Of course.
D'Onofrio had to be, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, they had to, and he has to have love for the animals, and the other guy has love for money. Well, that's what it is. That's
mm-hmm.
what it comes down to.
The entire thing. It's all your fault.
Well, and I'll swing back again with Deepwater Horizon. Kurt Russell's character is concerned only about the lives of the men who are on this rig,
mm-hmm.
and he doesn't give a shit about. He doesn't give a crap about corporate America and their interests, and he's not going to compromise their interests. Like, Chris Pratt's not going to compromise the interest of what's best for the dinosaurs for profit.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's not going to happen. So these are the same themes, and they, in Deepwater, it's Kurt Russell going toe to toe with John Malkovich, who is a corporate executive who's cutting corners and cutting costs because they're already $50 million over budget, and they want to move on. They mm-hmm. want to make money and stop. Who cares about the lives of the people that are there? D'Onofrio's the same way against Chris Pratt. Like, these are animals. They're just animals.
Yeah.
These guys are workers. It's the same. So I didn't realize until I started to kind of ponder it more how many tie-ins there are, but I think they're valid.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right there. But I don't want to take up too much of your time. So what else do you have coming up? On your slate here?
Well, I got Patriot Days coming out. Originally, I think we were going to try to release in December, but I think they're talking about not wanting to, get lost in the Academy, flood of things, because
okay.
it's, the Academy is, when you're going after Academy movies, it's like even if you have something great in there, it just kind of gets lost unless they decide to. So I think that's going to come out. They said somewhere on January 16th. There may be a slight release in December in order to kind of get some buzz going. that's the next thing I got going. Everything else is kind of out, and I did a TV show called Quarry that's on Cinemax, and I'm up for some really good films and some TV shows that are coming up. But those are the things that I have kind of happening right now.
Awesome. I've heard really great things about Deepwater Horizon, and that's one I haven't gotten to see it yet, but I absolutely have to get out there, and I'm trying to persuade. See it in IMAX? All right.
Oh my God. Bigger screen, bigger everything, and bigger, just bigger heart.
Yeah. Well, if it's anything like Peter Berg's last films, there's so much heart and drama there. I can totally imagine it.
Yeah, this guy knows. I mean, he's got it. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, well, I got to persuade all our listeners to go check it out. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to stop by here for a few. Everybody, go see your film there, and it's in theaters right now, right?
It is. It's in theaters across the country. This is just our we opened last weekend, so Deepwater Horizon is playing across the country everywhere. So, but definitely, if you're a Jurassic Park fan, go have the IMAX experience. Go get that Dolby sound in there. Let Industrial Light and Magic take you away again.
Awesome. Well, where's the best place people can find you online?
Well, I actually just started to build it out a little bit. JamesDumont.com is updated. I'm on Twitter, James K. Dumont, and I have a public Facebook page, a fan page that has actually some pictures from Jurassic Park and the premiere and all that other stuff. So that's the best way to kind of reach me.
Awesome. Well, thanks again. Good luck with your film and all your upcoming slate there.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Oh, you're fire! Do not fire!
God creates man. Man destroys God. Man creates dinosaurs. Boy, do I hate being right all the time.
We're gonna have to jump. I can. Are you ready? 1, 2, come on!
In the audio segment this week, we're bringing you some great audio from the Graham Norton Show in the UK, where Sam Neill, Miranda Hart, and Ewan McGregor reenact one of the most iconic scenes from Jurassic Park. You'll also hear Sam talk about working with imaginary dinosaurs. Take a listen.
Now, when actors do films like that, you guys, what you're looking, because you've seen films like that, because you've got to think, oh, okay, it's going to be amazing. But what did you think you were looking at? Did you think it was going to be that good?
I can tell you what I was looking at. It looks simple enough. But actually what I'm looking at is Steven Spielberg with a big long stick with a tennis ball at the end. Just waving it like this. And you have to look as stunned as It's not easy, this stuff, is it?
Well, no, but that's like a masterclass in amazement. Now, I'm going to ask Miranda a question, and I think I know the answer. Would you like to do a bit of acting with Sam Neill?
No. Yes, what do you mean? Yeah.
OK, so could you recreate the look of amazement? So basically, you look over, the two of you look over. I've got props, ladies and gentlemen. I've got props.
Oh my
I've got the Laura Dern leaf.
Oh, I get this.
Yes. Laura Dern glasses. You've got as much or as little there as you want to put on.
Yes.
There you go. OK, so they're preparing.
Oh, my God.
OK. And by the way, at the end, when they're looking suitably amazed, annoyed by the dinosaur, it's slowing traffic down. Stupid things. Who brought them back? If you, using your vocal training,
do a little bit of dinosaur
of dinosaur noise.
Okay. That would help immeasurably, actually.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Can you direct this, please?
Yes.
Let's have a little chat.
Right. OK, so we start the music.
Where are the dinosaurs going to
be? Right behind you. Behind you. See, you're looking behind
you. Where's the tennis ball?
Yeah, there's the camera, right?
I'm going to get out of the way, because I'm only doing dinosaur noise.
It's a very small dinosaur, is it?
No, it'll lift.
That's the camera.
Oh, right, OK.
Yeah.
Can I just say...
It's not a chicken one.
Here's the dinosaur. Wouldn't be a dinosaur.
Dinosaur.
Hey, just be amazed. I don't know how you do it. I don't know how you do it, Ewan.
I went to dinosaur.
That's very good. Yeah. That's very helpful. I'm starting the music.
I'm not being rude, but I prefer a tennis ball.
Okay. I've got Ewan to cue for sound. Okay, let me say action. Action. Very good, very good. That was very good. Incredible. Very, very good. Excellent.
This one is an absolutely brilliant video, and you really actually need to take a look at it because when Sam Neill dons a fedora and sunglasses, he looks just as good as he did over 23 years ago doing it in a film. I think this just confirms the fact that we really need to see Grant once again on screen. I'll include a link to the video in our show notes, so don't miss it. Make sure to visit JurassicParkPodcast.com to find all our past episodes, brand new news articles, information on how to contact us, and much more. It's a great source for everything related to the podcast, and of course Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. Head to JurassicParkPodcast.com and help us build a great community.
Anybody hear that?
Thanks for listening to the 70th episode of the Jurassic Park podcast. Of course, I need to thank James Dumont for coming on the podcast. I had an absolutely brilliant time talking with him and learning about his craft. So please, please, please go check out his new film, Deepwater Horizon. It's certainly deserving of a huge audience, you know, that big screen and the powerful sound. So make sure to see it in the biggest theater possible. Don't forget to find all of the links to James' work in our show notes. Thanks again, James. Next week, we're going to have a great poll segment to collect all your thoughts and ideas, but for now, I'm throwing the topic out early just to get you to start thinking about it. We want to hear all about your favorite scene from the new LEGO Jurassic World, The Indominus Escape. All you got to do is pick one scene and share it via any of our social medias, or our email, or our website, and we'll read your answers in the next episode. I can't wait to hear them. If you want to interact with us, we do most of our work over on Twitter, at Jurassic Park Pod. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/Jurassic Park Podcast, and our Instagram handle is at Jurassic Park Podcast. You can listen to us via iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, Podomatic, YouTube, our website, or wherever else podcasts are found. So make sure to subscribe to automatically get new episodes every week. If you haven't already, please give us a 5-star review in iTunes or a great review wherever you listen to the podcast. It will seriously help our rankings and make it easier for fans like you to find us. Don't forget to check out JurassicParkPodcast.com for all the links you heard here today. If you want to get a hold of us, you can email us with any news stories, top 5s, or comments to JurassicParkPod@gmail.com. If you'd like to record something for the show, send it in to us and we'll feature it in an upcoming episode. If you don't have any way to record, you can give our voicemail line a call and leave us a message. That number is 732-825-7763. Thanks for listening, and enjoy.
5 minutes. Drop what you're doing and leave now.